is terrible because we have Australian internet. But if you made it this far into the live stream, hopefully it started up. My name is Chris from Vo-Gus Prospecting, and this channel is all focused on gold prospecting and treasure hunting here in the northeast of Victoria, Australia. Now, I am going to do a bit of a cleanup for you guys tonight. I like to do these live streams for a couple of reasons. I like to give a full experience of what it's like to do a particular thing within gold prospecting, so you get an idea of the time scale, the process, the nuance that goes into things like recovering gold out of black sand. We've done live streams from the creek itself. You get a full picture of it. And the other thing is I get a lot of messages and a lot of comments that I'm simply only able to answer a fraction of, and this gives everyone an opportunity to ask their questions once we get through the tutorial. And I'm going to open it up, so if you do have questions, save them up. When I open it up for Q&A, please shoot them through in chat. I can see a whole heap of people just joining now, so welcome everyone. Oh, Lewis, man, welcome. Heaps of people are going to be in chat. I've got a couple of moderators there, Trevor and Debbie and Gadsy, and I believe I just saw Mick's name pop up. Hello to everyone there. They hopefully will be able to help me out and answer questions that you may have in chat, because when I'm doing these tutorials, it's very difficult for me to read chat at the same time, so I just don't do that, and I kind of hand that glove off to the people that are helping the back end of the channel. Right, so what are we doing today? We are going to be using a Miller table to clean up sluice concentrates, not sluice concentrates, pan concentrates in this case, from the drift mines. A little bit of back history on that, which will help you guys understand why I'm using this process. The drift mines were created around 2.6 million years ago. Now, 2.6 million years ago in my area, there was a really big mountain that no longer exists, and it eroded away to nothing. It eroded away to dirt and gravel. And when it did that, it laid these beds of gravel in, and then they solidified because of the pressure of the topsoil that came in on top of them, and obviously their makeup. Now, that process locked the gold up in something that is very similar to cement. And because that mountain no longer exists and it's now all locked up in this gravel, you have literal streams of gold running all through it. So the whole surface of the ground currently in this spot is shedding gold. You have to just simply look for where water is now eroding that hard concrete base, and that water is liberating those fine particles of gold and concentrating them in a line. So think of something like a gutter. The gutter is collecting all the water from either side of it and then focusing that water in one spot. Well, the same thing's happening with the gold in this area. The problem is, for me, that the mountain was made of granite. And granite has a lot of black sands in it. Now, there's a lot of different types of black sands, and in my area, it's cassiterite. Cassiterite is the precursor for tin ore, so it's where we get our tin from. I, unfortunately, cannot use a magnet to get rid of my black sands. I have to use a different method. I've used sluice boxes and I've used blue bowls, and I found the Miller table from my area is the most efficient. It's pretty quick for the volume of dirt that I'm processing. It's not very quick if you've got like an entire high banker's worth to go through. But for something like what I've done this time, which is panning, it's pretty dang efficient. So I'm going to flip you around. I'm going to show you the concentrates. I'm going to show you the Miller table and some of the tools that we'll be using tonight. And then I will start processing this for you. So let me just flip this camera around because that's fun. There we go. Oh, that's my wall. Welcome. Now, we are on Australian internet, guys, so the reception and the quality could be quite bad. I'm doing my best here. This is what we're going to be processing tonight. This is also what I have to process from the same exact cleanup, and this comes from panning. What I was doing was I was taking a gold pan, panning it down to a handful of concentrates and throwing it in a bucket, and this is what our end result is. You can see here, hopefully, there's a whole bunch of really fine gold smattered all over the bottom of that pan. And if you try to pan this off, it's very difficult. This is classified down to 50 mesh. So every piece of gravel and black sand and gold in this pan right now is under 1/50th of an inch. everything in the classifier here is over 1/50th of an inch. This is very easy to pan down, but this isn't. So tonight we're going to be using the Miller table to separate the gold out of this stuff. Now, time to show you guys the sweet and very delicious Miller table. A Miller table is a sluice box without riffles. You're utilizing very gentle water flow and a bed that is similar in texture to a chalkboard. It's got no dints or divots in it, but it's got that kind of grippy texture to it. This is going to allow our gold to sit on the bed and the water is going to push away the rocks. Now, Miller tables are really good at doing flat gold. As soon as the gold has shape, like some of the pieces in the oversize will have, the water can catch that piece of gold and push it down the bed. And the problem is there's nothing to stop it. Now, you can make a few modifications to this. Something as simple as running a very fine bead of silicone across this bed will create a riffle and stop any of those floaters going away. But I don't worry too much about anything that escapes because it just lands in a tub down here and we just add it to the next sluice run and that extracts the gold again. So it's not really an issue. To make your Miller table run properly, you're going to need a couple of paintbrushes, some good quality ones too. You want ones that have bristles that stick together. You don't want to buy a cheap brush where the bristles pull out and whatnot. You need something that's going to create a wave of water when you run it up the bed towards the gold. And a couple of different sizes doesn't go astray because at some point you're going to want to try and separate very small pieces of gold from very small pieces of black sand, and doing it with a big brush is quite difficult. Under here, I just drilled a hole in the Miller table and we have a glass file, and that glass file is what is going to collect all of our gold. So that's it in principle. We're going to turn the Miller table on, and then I'm just going to show you a couple of things regarding the magnetics in my concentrates. Actually, I'll show you that first. Just to show you, this is a magnet. You can see that there's a little bit of iron on that from an ore crush I did. This is our black sand. If I run it over, shake off the stuff that gets stuck to it from the water and not because it's magnetic. And you can see we didn't pick up anything. So I've got no magnetics in here, and that's why I'm not using a magnet. I get asked that quite regularly, and I think it's just important to note that not all black sands are magnetic. Radio, let's turn this on. Oh, don't be silly. Thank you. Right. When it comes to Miller tables, the water will never come out even. You've got to use something like a credit card, or in this case, a library card, to spread it out over the bed. I've already got this angle set, and I've already got the flow set. So the flow is adjustable with a valve here. I've got it wide open, and I've got the angle set to about 50% of what it's able to do. You can adjust that based on your mesh size that you classify to. I found this works pretty well for 50 mesh, but it's not perfect. If I'm being honest, we could probably improve it a little bit. We might even, you know what? We're going to do it. I wasn't planning on adjusting this tonight, but we are going to do it. Just a little bit. So I'm just dropping the angle of the sluice a touch because I know that the really fine gold on Miller tables does have a tendency to float a bit. Okay, here we go. You basically do 1 to 2 teaspoons of concentrate at a time. You don't want to overload the bed, and you just want to take your time with it. So we've got lots of black sand there, so 1 teaspoon is more than enough. I'll try to get you a little bit closer too, guys. Give me a second. Hopefully that's an okay angle for you. Right, a couple of tips for the brush. This tip comes from Mick because Mick is a goddamn genius. You don't want to necessarily touch the black sand. When I first started using a Miller table, I would sweep the black sand itself. And it's fine to do that when you've got a lot of concentrates on the bed like this. But the problem is when you introduce the brush to the water, it allows for the surface tension of the water. There is soap in this, by the way, so we've got a surfactant in this water already. But when you put your brush into that water, what ends up happening is the surface tension is able to dip down and scoop your gold up. Now, if you've never seen gold float, little pieces of gold are hydrophobic. They're actually trying to repel water. And because they're trying to repel water, when that surface tension dips down and touches them, it picks them up. So the way that you avoid that, and this again, Mick is a goddamn genius, is that you use a bow wave. I've got a video on this method. I hope I'm going to call my admins for the first time. Trevor or Deb or Gadsy or whoever's watching, could you post the video that I made just showing Mick's technique? I think it's in the Fast Friday playlist series. But you create a bow wave with the brush. So you put the brush in the water, and I hope you might be able to see it. You're going to see these lines of water pressure come either side of that brush. And you just slowly move it towards your concentrates. And what ends up happening is, without the brush even touching it, that pressure wave moves the black sand for you. See that? Not touching it, and we're getting a stream of black sand. And we're not touching the gold, so it can't float away when you're manipulating it. Very, very bloody clever technique. See, I might have dropped the angle on this a little, so it's a little too much for the speed's sake. It's going to take us a little longer to get this black sand to shift, but we should recover more gold. Now don't mind me while I just don't make any noise for a minute and concentrate. Right there, that was surface tension. So there's a piece of gold sitting right here. I've been manipulating the concentrates directly with my brush. I saw the piece of gold skip up on the surface tension. It made it all the way down to here again. That's why we have a catch container to rerun these concentrates. So we're just pushing back to the top. You know what? I am actually going to increase the angle on this just a little bit. I think I dropped it too much. This is a big thing about anything to do with sluice boxes, miller tables, anything that relies on you getting an angle correct. You are best off not measuring it and doing it visually. See how I tilted that up? Hopefully you can see it on the stream. And we're just starting to get some movement within the gravel without me touching it. I back it off a hair from that position and lock it down. And that now should be good. Should be. Or should be better. Yeah, we're getting more movement within the soil. That's what we want. Soil. I've got to stop calling it soil. Been hyper fixating on gardening all day. Because I've got weeds growing everywhere and I've got to address that, but gold prospecting is more fun. Right, I'll bring you around this side so you can see the manipulation of the final part. You're balanced right on the edge of the table, so please, if you could all collectively hold your breath, that would be great. Okay, I'm going to try to show you that pressure wave with the small brush, because that seems to be better. The smaller the surface area of your brush, the more intense that pressure wave seems to be. See that? See how it's moving without me touching? God damn it, Mick, you're a goddamn genius. So we're just doing this to get rid of that really fine black sand before we start sweeping things into our little collection file. Look at that, don't even have to touch it. Mick's a clever boy. It's like he's done this before or something. So this gold was just from panning, and it was panning those erosion gutters where the water had been concentrating the conglomerate. And this is 1 teaspoon's worth. We've probably got, I don't know, maybe 6 teaspoons worth of dirt. And I'm being a little bit more pedantic than I am normally because this gold is getting melted. into a little button. And I kind of want to collect as much of it as possible, so I actually have a button and not just like a tiny little blob. Every flake counts, right? Now, if you haven't already, guys, please consider hitting that like button. That helps the channel out a huge amount. Any time you comment or interact with the video, good or bad, it helps me out, and I really appreciate that. Alright, so there's our first little smidgen of gold. Now there is a little tiny bit of black sand left in that gold right now. I could get really pedantic about getting that 100% clean on the miller table. What I've actually found is it's a lot easier just to tip that stuff into a pan at the end and pull the last of the black sand out using a pan. And so we just push it into the hole. Gold gone. Gold gone. Right, now we quickly have a look over what I would call our tailings. There are a few specks here and there, so we're just going to swish these up. Get those out. And so it's a game of patience. This is why I tell people never to clean your gold on the creek, because you can only dig gold up when you're on the creek. You can't do it when you're at home. And you have all the time in the world to do it when you're at home. You can like literally crack a beer or a Coke or a cider or whatever you're into and just spend an evening or an afternoon doing this and enjoy it, as opposed to getting your gold spotless on the creek. Alright, so our bed is now clear of gold. You might see some stuff on the bed through the camera that looks like gold, but it is usually mica under this light. And the way I do it is I sweep a whole bunch of concentrates back up the top, and then I look very carefully to see if there's any gold. And literally none of that there is gold. That is all mica. So we get our card. We clear the bottom of the bed, or the top of the bed, should I say. And put on another spoon. Whew. So again, for this amount of concentrates, this is very doable. You can do, I will get through all of this in probably, well, if I wasn't talking to a camera, maybe 30 minutes, which is far faster than panning. But if you have a lot of concentrates, you need to do a stripping run either on a cleanup sluice or a gold wheel or a blue bowl or something. You need to reduce the overall concentrates before you put it on a miller table. A miller table is like a final cleaning tool. It is not a tool designed to strip your raw cons to nothing but gold. You have to do that initial processing first, unless you're doing a quantity like I am tonight, where we're only talking about concentrates from panning and not a huge high banker session where you might have 5 or 10 kilos worth of black sand. You're going to need a cleanup sluice for that. And I mean, cleanup sluices are really cheap. You can buy a piece of guttering, you can buy a piece of VMAT, and you'll be sweet. You can literally just plug your garden hose into the end of it and get your initial stripping run done. So time-wise, a miller table like this and doing this process probably saves me 75%. Like instead of it being maybe, I remember my first cleanup that I did from a small sluice box, like a river sluice off Reedy Creek. I had maybe the same amount of concentrates, and it took me 2 hours to hand pan it to gold. Whereas this will literally get it done in about half an hour. Now that we've got that water flow right, we're a lot better. There we go. Boop. Away it goes. All right, we're just looking for those extra little bits. There's always usually a few little escapades of gold that sit when you get over to this side. You can see 1, 2 just there. They can go in. Second that one. And the rest of that looks like it is mica. So there you go. That is how we use a miller table to clean up concentrates from the drift mines. We'll do one more spoon and then I'll flip it over to a Q&A. So if you have your questions, get them ready. Now, a lot of people also ask me about putting a small vibrator on this table to make it work, and I tried that. The one I bought from a adult shop was a bit too powerful for what I needed, so you need something that's adjustable, and obviously waterproof would be ideal, just so you don't bugger it straight away. But yes, a little vibrating unit on one of these machines would work beautifully. You're just going to have to get the right one, and apparently my online shopping history is going to look sketchy for no benefit at all, because it was too damn powerful. All right. Now, there's one thing you can do, a little bit of a hack. If you tap like that, you can. It's hard to show you when it's at this level of concentrate, so there's not much left. But if you tap like that, you can get some of the concentrate, some of the black sands to move on without you having to do any brush work. But I don't know. I find the brush work quite therapeutic, if I'm being honest. Now, Mick warned me about this on his one, and I didn't understand what he meant until I did it myself, which is that the little glass file under here, there is a gap between the lid and the actual file itself. It doesn't seat properly. None of them do. It doesn't matter which one you buy. I've now tried a couple. Sometimes you'll end up with gold on the rim. So it's really important that you have a container underneath that, so when you take this off, the gold just drops into a container and you can pull that out as well. I don't usually check that container until much later. Now, we're not done with those concentrates. I just wanted to give you a taste of what this is like. So this was 3 teaspoons. This was 3 teaspoons. And there is the gold that we managed to recover from 3 little teaspoons. That's not so bad. That's pretty good. We remember this is only the under 50 mesh. We're not even halfway through. So that's the gold we got from 3 teaspoons. I still have all that to go and all of that. So I do think this will be a fairly decent cleanup. Maybe like a ½ gram, which is not too bad for me. I will set this camera back up. Flip you guys around. What's up? There we go. Okay, I'm going to try and pull chat up, because where the hell has my chat gone? There should be a chat box there. Live chat. Yeah. There we go. Perfect. Cool. Now I can see you guys and I can see chat. So if you have questions and you want your gold prospecting questions, your treasure hunting questions, I will do my best to answer them. If I can't answer them, I will tell you, and hopefully we will be able to get the community to give or point you in the right direction. Yes, Trevor? I got the glass. It's okay. Going back to the day where I used to do live streams drinking whiskey. Carl, it wasn't snow. So I was out looking at mines, and I hadn't found any gold. I hadn't found anything of interest really, other than like a really cool mine. And I got back into town and it was like slush. It was snow and hail together, and it was so thick, it was ridiculous. Aussie Walker, will I be doing more smelting videos? Yes. So let's clarify that. The video I released today was sort of taking the piss, tongue-in-cheek, for the smelting. I am very aware that I wasn't set up with the right equipment, but I really wanted to try it to see what would happen. I wanted to know, first and foremost, like what happens to the quartz when I add a lot of heat to it and flux, to see if it dissolves, to see if it evaporates. I wanted to know what would happen to it. I also wanted to know how much more gold was locked up in the quartz and the sulfides. And I knew I could get that furnace hot enough to probably destroy most of the quartz. And what I cut out from that video, which I'm now thinking I should have left in, was I actually took a 10-gram sample of raw crush and I just panned it. So without doing anything, I just took the same amount of ore, put it in a pan, panned it off, and I got one speck from it. Whereas the results in that smelting video, even though it didn't melt into a blob, I ended up with a good 50 or 60 really fine pieces of gold. That tells me that we're losing a lot of gold using the methods that we're using just from hand panning. And so I think there's going to now have to be some investment made in a system that processes ore first by fire, so getting it real hot for a period of time, then crushing it because that makes crushing so much easier, then probably roasting it again, and then after roasting it, going through the ball mill and finally using a sluice box to extract as much as we can. That seems to be, in my mind, the best method to getting that gold out of that ore, and that's why I made that video. Smelting gold itself, I will be doing some more smelts where I make little buttons, but not often. I kind of like gold as soft, flaky stuff as it is, as opposed to yeah, buttons. I don't know. Buttons don't do it for me as much as what soft, flaky gold does. Go to bring chat back up. Yeah, Matt, it did. So Matty Han, he's asking, isn't quartz silica, which would melt to glass? And it did. What I couldn't show you very well on camera was that the slag, when I crushed it, turned out to be really glassy. It was like someone had smashed a beer bottle in my pan. And yeah, I made some really cool looking glass, even if it was only a little bit. So disappointed you didn't open a wormhole to another dimension. I'm doing alchemy. Yeah, Rud. So ask Jason from MBMMLLC. He's a super good smelter. I love his channel. Jason's channel is unreal. It's so packed full of knowledge, and he's doing a great job of freely sharing it, and I appreciate the effort that he's going into doing that. The problem I suppose I've got is that procuring things like the chemicals that he's got, I'm not 100% sure where to start with that. Australia has a lot of really strict laws and regulations and licensing around anything like that because we're a nanny state apparently. And the second thing is just the expense. It's a really expensive thing to do. Even just buying flux that you're literally burning, like it's an expensive thing to do for me that isn't that much, doesn't give me that much benefit. I'm not doing it for any reason other than to make films on it. So I don't think that it's something that I want to chase too hard. I'm happy with my little furnace, and I'm probably just going to stick to melting small amounts of gold in the future, and we'll just see what happens there. But I love Jason's channel. Use my phone on the middle table and vibrate. Maybe. Okay. So Nick, again, you're talking about using acids and stuff. Because I've been finding a lot of specimens. So this is a specimen that a specific gravity tells me should be about 1 gram of gold in it. I'll get it over the top of my face so hopefully the camera focuses. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. There's about 1 gram of gold in that according to a specific gravity test. Get off my face. There we go. You can see some of that gold. Then I just hide my face like this so I don't have my eyes. But there's a piece of gold. There's a piece of gold right there. And a lot of people have suggested to me that it would be cool to acid wash some of these rocks. And I completely agree. Because it would be interesting to see the form structure of how the gold is sitting in this rock. Couple of things to note why I haven't chased it very hard. Again, procuring the right chemicals in Australia, I'm not 100% sure where to start with that. And Secondly, the reason they are harder to procure in Australia and in the concentrations that I need is that they are dangerous and they are toxic. And I'm not interested in it enough to really pursue that as a thing. These specimens I think look really good as they are personally, and I'm happy to keep them like this. Maybe in the future I'll dabble with a few things. I've talked to some people with a caustic soda method to use. I've talked to people with a vinegar method to use. I've talked to people about a couple of things like the Albrights that you can buy from auto shops. There's a whole lot of stuff I know I could try, and I know there's a lot of people out there who will be like, yeah, just go and do it. A lot of it comes back to, again, it's just money outlay for something that I don't personally find that interesting. I'd rather hit something with a hammer. And I will try it in the future when I get the right specimen, when I get the right piece. I've got a couple of small pieces that I'd be very curious to try an acid method with it, but I've got to get there, right? So it's on the back burner. This is my concentration reading face for those who have not seen it before. I like Trevor's suggestion. Everyone is suggesting things to try. My suggestion is pressing the like button. He's not wrong. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, brush it off, just say, damn straight, those chemicals are dangerous, be really careful. 5% saturation of any body part with hydrofluoric acid will kill you. E.g. just dipping a hand in. Like, I don't even know how to begin with this, because it comes back to personal choice, right? Crushing rock, not really that dangerous. Wear a respirator and you're good. And don't stick your hand in the crusher, which is pretty hard to do, like as it is. Acids, it just takes one stuff up, like one little stuff up. I don't know. I'm not interested in taking that risk for something that is giving me no benefit. Like, I've already got the specimen, right? Like, I've already got this, so I don't think that there is a need to change its appearance. In fact, I think it's, like, at the moment, I think that's a lot prettier as it is than it would be if I removed a whole bunch of quartz. It would be cool looking, but I think it's nice to see a specimen, how it came out of the ground, shows you the geology, shows you everything you need to know about that gold from that area. That's my 2 cents. You may have a different opinion. We're going to go back to the reading phase where I have to read comments and scroll. So if you have got questions, let's move on from forging though, eh? Sean, any interesting mine exploration stories I can share? Other than the wombat that was really pissed off with me? Nah, not really, man. So I found a mine. Actually, that's something I want to talk about. I found a mine and it's pretty cool looking. But there is a 10, 12 meter wide pool of water right at the entryway. I poked a stick in it to see how deep it was, and it feels like worm people deep. Like, you go in that hole and you just disappear kind of deep. And I really want to get across it because the mine behind it looks super neat. There's a lot of struts left in place. There's no visible rock collapse. There's no fractures in the wall. It is one of the cleanest mines I have seen. I want to go looking in it. I really want to go looking at it. I want to know what that mine looks like, because I think there is a really good opportunity for a video in showing the full form of a mine in there, like their alcoves and where they had food and all that. There's potential there, so I've got to figure out a way to get across that pool of water, whether that be a ladder across it, a lilo that I could float across on, cutting down a couple of dead trees or something just to refix the bridge. There's a few things, right? There's a few things. Aussie Walker, will I ever do camping prospecting videos? Probably not. To be honest, I sort of over camping and don't like it that much anymore. I used to love it. I used to camp all the time, but right now, no, not interested. And it's funny because I get asked that a lot. Let's go on a rant. I I get asked that a lot, and the thing for me is I live 30 minutes from the gold fields, like 30 minutes. I don't even live that far. I live 5 minutes from some gold fields. I used to live literally on a gold mine. Like, I don't need to camp. I don't need to camp. I could be back there at 6 o'clock in the morning if I wanted to be within 30 minutes, and I would have had a better sleep and better food and blah, 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 blah. Like, that to me is far more because then that allows you to do the stuff you want to do the next day. Camping used to be fun, but for a few reasons now it is not. If you could spend a day in any major gold rush, what would it be? Oh my God, that is a good question. That is a really good question. Any gold rush, one day. Assumably, you can only spend. I'm going to make some rules. Assumably, you could only spend one day in the rush. You couldn't take back anything. Um, I would go. Oh, any. That's hard because I live here and you could get some really valuable information from my local area. But on the flip side, I could go to where really big nuggets were being found and see what they were doing there. But I don't live there. I don't have the same level of knowledge of the ground. I would like, for pure curiosity, this is kind of any in the world. Oh, why is that hard? I don't know. It would be really cool to see my dad's reef being worked, that whole thing, because I feel like there's more there. I feel like there's more, and I kind of want to understand. I found more gold around small workings than I have ever found in the really big mining areas. And what that makes me think is that the smaller mine operations were chasing really easy gold and they were kind of sloppy. So it would be interesting to see the method that they use to pull the ore out, to transport it, it would be really interesting to see how those small scale mines were worked, because if you know what they were looking for and how they did it, you could then translate it to some of the other areas in that area. So when you come back to your reality, you could take advantage of it. That's my really crappy answer. All right. Once again, we're going to look. Matt, yeah, see, Matt, this is the problem, right? If you went to Ballarat, where like the really big nuggets were found, you already know that information from all the newspaper articles. You can go there anytime you want because they wrote about them every single day, and there's no way, like, you'd still have to contend with all the bull crap that comes around with mining permits to get your D9 in there and just to do it. Or you could just do it. I mean, if you're a loose unit and you want to throw shade, you could do it that way. But those small out of the way workings where I found most of my nuggets, I don't know. I don't know. I think there's potential. There's probably potential in both, but it depends on your situation. If you like lived in Bendigo and then you got to go see that, then yeah, that would make more sense. Nick, do I have a nugget to show the fans? I got a jar of nuggets. He just scooches back and picks up a jar of nuggets. I don't think I've ever going to tip this into. Maybe. I'll take it. I'll just hold the jar up. That is all of my detected and crushed and processed gold from the 6,000 since I got it. Those there. I haven't finished processing all my nuggets. I've got a lot more about another 12, no, 18. I have 18 more that I haven't crushed yet. And I'm just about to put the 14-inch coil on and go back and see what's deeper. So, yeah, the 6,000's a beast. I never thought I would find nuggets like I've found in my area. Never, not once. That's a mighty loud drinking over there, Fern. Holy crap. She scuzzles. Mr. K, is there any such thing as easy gold though? Yeah, man, there is definitely easy gold. When you go and pick up gold straight off the ground. So Nugget, story time. Nugget Gully, I found that in 2016 and I prospected it and I didn't find anything. And I was like, this is crap. But I didn't know it was nugget or nothing territory. I didn't know that you had to, look for the one piece of gold that was in that area because it would be a quarter gram or it would be a half gram. But the first time I went up there prospecting with fresh eyes, I'd learnt some stuff. I'd spent some time out on the creeks and I'd learnt how gold travels and how gold moves and what it looked like. When I went back to Nugget Gully, I was literally picking pickers up off the bedrock that were just sitting on the ground. So yeah, there's easy gold, but you've got to be willing to go look for it. And it's harder today than it's ever been because of people like me. And I do apologize. is that social media, mining shows such as Gold Rush have really kicked off a whole new generation of prospectors, and we've sold more prospecting licenses in the last couple of years than we have in like the last 20. So that in itself has made finding untouched ground very difficult. And I'm aware that a lot of that super easy gold is gone. And that's why a lot of my efforts now have started to be looking in between the lines. It's like those small mines I was talking about. Those small mines are more important than the big ones because the big ones, sure, there was a lot of industry there and there's probably still a bit of gold there. There's also a lot of rubbish, and there's a lot more people know about them. Is if you get off the beaten track and you find those little mines, that's where they're at because no one's touched them, no one's picked over them. It's the same as looking in the tributaries to main creeks because the tributaries are often full of gold and main creeks are usually hammered. Jeff plays, I haven't seen the latest Parker's Trail one. Although, actually, this is something I want to ask the chat really quickly. I did the Aussie Gold Hunters debunking video. If anyone, Gadsy, Debbie, if she's still here, I don't think Debbie's still here. Trevor, if you're able to put that video in chat and please go watch it because I made a video showing why I know they fake their videos. And I open it with saying I did a casting interview with those guys about 5 years ago. So I know how they operate because I've filmed with them like in person. And I know it's faked from that interaction. I made that video. I'm just wondering if you guys would like to see more of those videos, not just about Aussie Gold Hunters, but perhaps other YouTube channels such as Maximo Rowe, and there's a couple of other ones, Golden Beard Media and whatnot. So I can show you guys how to spot fake gold finds because once you know, it's really obvious. And it got a really good response on the other channel, which is Spud Engineering. If you don't know that Spud Engineering is my channel, don't freak out about that. But yeah, let me know because I would like to make more, but I want to know if you guys want to see them. Taxi Boys, welcome. Levi, we've shown the world where the gold is. Yeah, we have. We have shown them. Oh, Stumpy's in the house. What's up? How are you, Stumpy? I've got to get a new pick off you, bro, because mine is pretty effing short now. Nick, I've done a gemstone panning episode. It's not really my jam. Like, we have gemstones in this area, but they're not as common as some of the other gem fields. So it's a lot of work for the possibility of finding absolutely nothing. I'd much rather, if I was going to do that, I'd much rather take a trip up north and get into like the sapphire gold fields. I think that would be a much better, video as opposed to doing it in my area. Yeah, Matt, so let's address that because I think that's important. Was good, but you need to keep the focus on the production, not on the miners themselves. I did, because right at the start I said it's not a reflection on those guys. I understand the nuance. I understand that it is a TV show and it's been produced. You have to talk about the guys doing it though because they are willing participants, and that is they obviously know what they're doing because they are running a full-scale mining operation. So they have skills, they know what gold's about, they understand all that, but they're also taking the piss. So they've set themselves up to be in the firing line that if they're going to go out and fake it, they might as well use their knowledge to make sure that they fake it correctly. So at least the information that's getting transferred across is correct as opposed to complete fantasy. Does that make sense? Because I think I said right at the start of that video, there is a burden of responsibility to inform people that the thing that they are seeing is a recreation. I mean, they do it on the History Channel, they do it on the crime channels that you can watch. So why not the gold channels? It's not going to take away from the entertainment factor because it's still real gold and they're still recreating real stories just like they are on true crime stories. But if you know it's bullcrap, you're not going to go and sink, $5 grand or $8 grand into a detector and then get really disappointed. And because those guys know what they're doing, I think they owe it to their audience that they're currently deceiving. Yeah, Rod. Dan's a smart businessman. It's that simple. Dan is taking advantage of his claims. So Rudd puts Dan Hurd, Ocean Picklestone is making him more money than gold is. Gold isn't that expensive. It's not. It's really not. The gold game is tricky because unless you're running industrial sized wash plants or big dredges or something like that, you're not going to end up often with a really large amount of gold unless you're like Levi who just has like the best ground in the world. But that's what I mean. It's not common. It's not a common thing to be able to walk away with a whole bunch of gold. And there are a lot of other things in this world that make you more money. If you're just focusing on the money from an amateur perspective, you're better off selling gear or pay dirt. Like that's what you're better off selling. Because even if you had to buy 100% of your gold in pay dirt, you can at least charge 10 or 15%. I've seen a lot more charge, but I try to charge 10 or 15% on top because you're paying for my time to create the thing. And you still come out better off than what you would be if you were a hobby prospector around the creek for the most part, because you don't have to outlay petrol and food and time off work and travel and maintenance on your vehicle and maintenance on your equipment. You're literally buying the dirt in. So 10% might be $5 as opposed to $200 or $300 just to go out for a weekend and try and pan it out of the river yourself. So pay dirt and things like that are a way that you can take your small time operation to make more money. The gold itself isn't as important as your business model, and Dan is really good at that. He is utilizing his claims correctly and he is taking the product, he's value adding to the products that he's creating by finding things like ocean picture stone, turning them into jewelry, and then passing them on to his customers with that markup for his time, which is how good business is run. Boza, are you planning on doing a meetup at all? We've done a few in the last little bit. In the last 12 months, we've actually done, I think, 3 meetups. So yeah, there'll be more in the future, but it's just going to be, when it comes up. I don't have a plan for that. That is a good question. So Jeff Oz, hang on, we go. The gold along Reedy Creek, hang on, antisaline is what I'm going to go. I've never heard that word before. Is wonderful. Do you utilize old-time parish maps to track down the map's reefs? Noting the strike and dip of the ore-bearing reefs to track down likely veins. Sort of. So Reedy Creek, no, but in other areas, yes. The Golden Reedy Creek is not shedding from ore veins. I'm going to bust a long time myth about Reedy Creek. Are you ready? Who's ready? We're going to share some secrets. There's a really common myth from all the prospectors that I meet out on Reedy Creek that says that the gold from Reedy Creek, the source was never found, which is a complete fabrication. It was found, and it was mined. It's not shedding from lode reefs. Those lode reefs are long gone. They're part of that mountain that I talked about at the very start of this video. So the gold that's laid into Reedy Creek is literally shedding from the conglomerate into the creek. Every time it rains, that conglomerate gets softer and it turns to a mud, and then it gets washed down into the creek. That's where the gold is coming from. We know this because we've tracked it back to it. And we know this because there is no historic reef mines on the upper Reedy Creek. There are a lot of drift mines, and there are a lot of hard rock drift mines. This is where they undercut the conglomerate and they mined it out. Now, there's several reasons we know that's not fed by reefs anymore. It was. All that conglomerate is made up of a mountain that had a lot of reefs in it. It had a lot of gold shedding from it, and that whole mountain disappeared. It got eroded. And that's why there's so much gold spread along the whole length of the creek. And we know now that when you get in the creek, if you're near a set of conglomerate mines, that you're more likely to find more gold than what you are if you're in a section of creek that doesn't line up with any of those conglomerate mines. When we step away from the creek and go to other areas, we do use maps, and we try to utilize GeoVic to locate the fault lines, and that's mostly what we chase. But yeah, not necessarily on Reedy Creek. Joe, where do you get your old gold maps from? This is a really good question, and it's important to note that there are certain resources, till I give up gold mining, there are certain resources we will not divulge because they are really important and they're also quite valuable. Call that what you will, but that's just being smart, especially when I have, like, between Facebook and YouTube, like 600,000 subscribers. So putting that information out there is a pretty guaranteed way of getting stuff destroyed. The one thing I can tell you to use is your National Library archives. So in in Australia, it's called Trove. Trove is an online database, and you can use it just like Google. So you can Google like gold, Yackandandah, and then it'll bring up all the articles related to gold and Yackandandah, from government reports, old parish maps, old maps, geological surveys, and newspaper articles. It'll bring them all up, and then it's up to you to decipher through them. Most countries will have a similar database that allows you to access that information. So look up your National Library archives and see if they've got an online database. Stumpy, yeah. The Manscape. Oh yeah, baby. Yes, the Manscape. I know you said that you were considering putting a sharp edge on the back of this thing. I'm probably still going to do that. I love this little pick. It's only ever found gold in Creswick, but we'll change that. We'll change that soon enough. You got to start selling them, Stumpy. I want to see them on your website. I got my old maps from an old timer on the creek. It's not on. Oh, it's not on the internet, Lewis. That is basically where our maps come from too. um, Walshy73, have you ever prospected outside of Victoria? Where would you like to dig? Yeah, so I've prospected through central New South Wales. I actually just recently did a trip to Adelong, well, in the Adelong area. I got an invite out from a subscriber, and he was very, very generous to allow me access to a side tributary on Adelong Creek. And it's nice. It's really nice. Actually, I've got that gold right here. Hang on a second. That pan there. No, I need a squirt bottle. I'm pretty sure that was one. No, that's not the right one. That one. you know you're a gold prospector when you just got pans of gold lying around everywhere. So this comes from this little side tributary. It took me most of the day to figure it out because new ground, new geology, and I hadn't had an opportunity to prospect ground like that before. And then I worked it out. Right at the end of the day, I worked out that obviously some people have been sneaking onto this guy's land. He mentioned that he had a lot of shovel doggers jumping his fence and trying to like smash his creek, and he was getting pissed off at them. But anyway, all the obvious spots are being hit. And it took me a little while to realize that. Once I figured that out, I put in the work. And it's really important that if you ever go to a smashed area, don't look for the obvious spots. Like if there's crevices and behind boulders, just ignore them. Like seriously, if it's smashed, don't even worry about it. Yeah, maybe, but your best bet is instead to put in the work. Look for the obvious spot that's too hard, that's too much to be bothered with, and then dig there. I had to shift about 2.5 feet of gravel overburden for a 4 to 6 inch pay layer at the bottom. And when I got down there, I only did about maybe 5 to 10 pans right at the end of the day, and most of the gold came out from that. And this was it. So this is from Adelong, and you can see nice chunky bits. Most of this gold again came out from just a few pans. Like they are some nice flakes of gold compared to what I normally get in my area. They are really coarse, and I have an invite back whenever I want to go back and hang out. And so this guy, who shall remain nameless for a bunch of reasons, thank you very much if you are watching for inviting me out to it, because the gold there is unreal. And also on that note, private property, don't be a shovel dogger and jump fences and drive through people's properties and act like an absolute ass, because it just ruins it for everyone in the hobby. It's not good. So I've panned recently in Adelong. I've been up to, I think it's called Ophir. I can't pronounce it. But where the gold rush started in Australia, I panned there. And I've panned in Canada with Paulie. That was really cool, going over there to do that. And then, yeah, other than that, just a few trips out to the Central Goldfields. I'd like to do more trips, but just time, money, that kind of stuff. You gotta work these things in, right? You can't just go off and do it. We're getting my reading face on. Yeah, Mick, good fishing in that creek, eh? It was real good. I'm not a fisherman, but some of the stuff that I've seen people pull out of that was pretty damn impressive. Sluicebox Carl should be editing right now. This is too good though. Yeah, well, I mean, man, come on. Editing can wait. I'll answer a couple more and then we're going to go, guys. Yeah, Patrick, Avalon Creek has some bedrock by the caravan park. I got about 8 grams sniping there about 20 years ago. The thing is, the 20 years ago is now very relevant because of the amount of prospectors that are out there. Yeah, Lewis, door knock and ask. Okay, that's a good. We'll end it on that, guys. Ooh, we've made it to the hour. Door knock and ask. you want private property access, it's really straightforward. I should put up a video on Spider Engineering about this. Get yourself looking presentable. So like don't rock up in camo or a singlet or a wife beater. Be presentable. Make yourself look inviting to talk to you. Like I have hand tattoos and sleeves. Even something as simple as putting your hands behind your back and just looking like comfortable and relaxed like that to mitigate any chance that the person that you're trying to ask for has any reason to doubt your authenticity. And then just lay it out. Hi, my name is, I'm a local gold prospector. I use a pan to find gold. My research has led me to believe that there is gold in the creek behind your house. And I was wondering if I could talk to you about possibly gaining access to it so I could do some gold prospecting. And no matter what they say, if they say yes or no, thank them and give them a business card. It costs $7 to get business cards printed up from somewhere like Vistaprint. You can hand them a business card and you say, if you ever change your mind, if you're ever interested, please give me a call. And the amount of times you'll get a call back, this is what I used to do for hunting properties. The amount of times you'll get a call back 2-3 months in the future because they were talking about whatever in a dinner conversation and you come up because it's not every day a gold prospector knocks on your door. You'll get calls back. And just when you get access, a lot of people ask about, oh, do you split the gold or whatever? Well, you can, but the easiest thing that I found is most property owners are just happy to be shown some of the gold that's on their property. You can surely offer them a cut, but the way I explain it is, you know, I would be lucky to pull somewhere between $30 and $100 of gold in an entire day's worth of panning. I'm happy to split it with you, but I would rock up first and foremost with something that they like a bottle of wine or a slab of beer or a bottle of whiskey or something like that, because it builds a relationship, it builds trust. You make sure that you level your tailings piles, you make sure you look after their land, and what will end up happening is you'll end up getting more and more access through neighbors' properties, through friends' properties that they know. It's how you build a network. So start off, get yourself presentable, be polite, be direct. You don't need to ramble. Just say, I'm a gold prospector. It looks like there might be gold on your property. I was wondering if I could talk to you about it. And then take it from there, see what they say. And no matter what, give them a business card so they've got a way of talking to you. And if you can, get their email address and get everything in writing, because writing always trumps word. Because one day, for whatever reason, if old man Joe comes home and he's not happy that there's a gold prospector in the back paddock that his wife's let in, you can pull out a slip and show it to the police or him or whoever that says, hey, yeah, I've been given permission here. And you'll get basically a get out of jail free card for it. It's really important to have that stuff in writing if you can get it. I think that is a really good place, far out, to leave this stream. Drink water, Chris. All right, well, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you learned something about the Miller table. I hope I've been able to answer some of your questions. We will do more of this in the future, and yeah, please just keep an eye out for my live streams and the videos that come out. As always, if you can leave a comment or you can hit that like button, it helps the channel out massively, and I really appreciate it. That's what helps my videos reach more people. Have a great night, guys. I am going to go eat apple pie and chocolate ice cream. So until next time, peace. Scratch dog behind the ear for me, and I am out. Hit the X button and stop streaming. Bye, guys. Whoa.